If I learned anything from my time as a wannabe humor writer, it is that writing something truly funny is hard work. Every time I tried to set up potentially funny lines or put people in humorous situations, it just wasn't that funny. What I should have done was look to the humor writers of the past and present for inspiration and much needed guidance. By looking at how they used forms like satire, parody, and spoof to great effect, I learned how humor writing works, if not how to write it myself. One type of humor writing, parody, is all around us, from a fake commercial on Saturday Night Live to the comedian-musician Weird Al's version of the song I Love Rock and Roll titled I Love Rocky Road. It is no surprise then that the word parody comes from the Greek words side by side and song, with the parody intended to be compared side by side with the original. In literature, a parody takes a specific work and uses the conventions it is known for to poke fun at them. Just as a parody of a commercial exaggerates the language and images of a specific commercial to advertise a fake and often silly product, a literary parody exaggerates the language and tone of a well-known work for humorous effect. So, if the work being parodied is an action-adventure story where the hero has a short temper, the hero in the parody might try to fight everyone he encounters, from bad guys to old ladies. One of my favorite literary parodies is Erica Lynn Huberty's take on the poem This Is Just to Say by William Carlos Williams. Both are quick notes of apology with short lines and simple language. This Is Just to Say by William Carlos Williams, 1934. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. Using a very similar structure and tone as Williams, Huberty writes, This Is Just to Say for William Carlos Williams by Erica Lynn Huberty, 1991. I have just asked you to get out of my apartment, even though you never thought I would. Forgive me, you were driving me insane. Huberty's parody is funny because it uses the simple style of the Williams poem, but to kick someone out of her house instead of sweetly apologizing for eating the last of the plums. Parody is often confused with spoof, which is also mocking in nature, but spoofs mock a general genre rather than a specific work of art. For example, the 1605 novel The Adventures of Don Quixote by Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra spoofs romance novels of the time. Don Quixote is a man who, inspired by books describing the chivalrous deeds of knights, decides to start protecting the helpless and taking down bad guys. This sounds nice, but Don Quixote is a bit of a fool, as we can see from this exchange with his partner, Sancho Panza. Look there, Sancho Panza, my friend, and see those 30 or so wild giants with whom I intend to do battle and kill each and all of them, so with their stolen booty we can begin to enrich ourselves. This is noble, righteous warfare, for it is wonderfully useful to God to have such an evil race wiped from the face of the earth. What giants? Asked Sancho Panza. The ones you can see over there, answered his master, with the huge arms, some of which are very nearly 2 leagues long. Now, look, your grace, said Sancho, what you see over there aren't giants, but windmills, and what seems to be arms are just their sails that go round in the wind and turn the millstone. Obviously, replied Don Quixote. You don't know much about adventures. Don Quixote is so blinded by his attempts to be chivalrous that he sees danger everywhere, even windmills. With the line, This is noble, righteous warfare, for it is wonderfully useful to God to have such an evil race wiped from the face of the earth, Cervantes wants his audience to see that warfare, especially in God's name, is not generally noble, righteous, nor useful. Probably the most complex of the 3 types of humor writing featured here is satire. Satire relies on humor to criticize political, religious, or moral beliefs and social mores. The mock news program The Daily Show uses tools like irony and ridicule to make fun of, and even shame, both the news media and the events covered. Satire spans the spectrum in its tone, from good-humored to withering and pointed. The 1895 play The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde is a light-hearted take on the social codes around marriage and courtship during the Victorian period. It is also considered a spoof on other comedies of manners, some of which were also written by Wilde. Everything about the play is exaggerated and focused on appearances. One of the main characters, Jack Worthing, leads a double life in London as a man named Earnest. Of course, Jack's superficial lady love, Gwendolen Fairfax, is convinced she can only love a man named Earnest, and he fears telling her the truth. Identities are mixed up and misunderstandings are had, but nothing so bad it isn't wrapped up in a neat and happy bow at the end of the play. Parody, spoof, and satire are the three types of humor writing that rely on literary conventions to mock those same conventions. Parody takes a specific literary work and exaggerates its form and language, often replacing serious subjects with silly ones. Spoof is where a writer takes the conventions of a well-known genre and pokes fun at them. Finally, satire uses ridicule, exaggeration, and irony to comment on society, religion, and politics. These three types of humor writing are all around us, from the satirical newspaper The Onion to YouTube videos where all the actors in a well-known TV show are replaced with cats.